Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, I gotta admit, this is another one of those videos that I got up this morning, had no idea what I was going to do, and then just kind of inspiration took over. Let me talk to you about what we're going to do. It all really started with an observation that I made when I got up this morning, and that is the cat's location. The cats sleep a lot during the day, and it's funny, they usually have a specific place that they go to sleep during the day, and I noticed that recently they've both switched positions. Right now Nibble's in the little cat tree here, and that's where she's going to spend the day, and Bite's taken to just sleeping down here on the floor. Now it's funny, just a couple weeks, they've been doing that now for the last couple weeks or so, but prior to that, Bite used to sleep up on this thing and Nibble would be over here. So I started thinking a little bit about what they have to do during the day, when I'm at work and stuff like that, and it just seems like it's not a very stimulating life. Now I know cats are usually more nocturnal, so they sleep during the day and then are a little bit more active in the early morning and evening times, and then late at night when they stalk around. But I thought, it might be fun, since they aren't really that active during the day, is maybe keep their attention active, keep their minds active. And it made me kind of think back to a live stream I had a couple years ago where somebody proposed the idea of what they called cat TV, where they literally put a bird feeder outside the window so the cats can sit there and watch the birds. And you know what, that seemed like a good idea, and I was thinking about that this morning, and I think that's what we're going to do for today's video. Now this is the same window from the outside, and I think that having a bird feeder right outside the window is actually going to work pretty well, because there is actually a tinting on the windows, so the cats will be able to hide inside and the birds won't be able to see them. You can actually see my reflection off of the glass, and you can actually see very little inside the window. So I think that this is going to be an ideal location for a bird feeder, and I've already got a hook on the side of the house that I use for stringing my Christmas lights that's right exactly in the perfect position to hang it in front of this window here. So the only other issue I got to do is figure out how to squirrel proof this, because you remember in the tree in the backyard I had to put a couple of squirrel baffles on the wire to keep the squirrels off, because one wasn't enough. They'd crawl down the wire onto the baffle and then slide off the side of the baffle and swing around and capture the bird feeder with their feet on the way down. I ultimately ended up fixing that with 2 squirrel baffles, so they'd slide off the one, they'd bounce off the second one, and so far that seems to have prevented the squirrels from getting onto that bird feeder. But it also starts with the fact that the tree branch that I hung the feeder on was a good probably 15 feet off the ground. There isn't that much room here. That's about 8 feet up, and we're only going to be going down about 4 feet to the window. So we're going to have to come up with something if that's going to be a big issue. But then again, I started thinking, you know what? I have a bird feeder in the backyard that is exclusively for the birds, so it's not like if the squirrels take food here, the birds aren't getting any. They'll get theirs in the backyard. The primary purpose of this bird feeder is going to be for cat entertainment. And I would guess that a squirrel eating at the bird feeder is going to be as interesting to them as a bird. So there's also the added issue. There's this little part of the roof here, and a squirrel could just literally get out there and jump to the feeder. So even if I did put baffles on top, it's not going to work that well. So at this point, I think we're going to give up trying to prevent squirrel activity, because that's going to be fun to watch too. So next door, and the next step here is let's go over to the Home Depot and let's get a bird feeder. All right, I'm back from Home Depot. I got some 16th inch plastic insulated, what they call wire rope, some little clips to enable them to make a loop. I guess when I got out to Home Depot, I realized that in the past I've looked for these little seed cake cages, and they haven't had them. But I know that HEB had one, so I went over there, got a cage for the seed cake and some seed cake itself. And so this is what we're going to hang outside the cat's window, and hopefully this will attract a lot of wildlife and help stimulate their imagination a little bit, maybe get them to be a little bit more active, at least exercise their neck a little bit, right? So the first thing I got to do is just prepare the wire, and that's actually pretty simple. I'm going to fold I'm going to take the wire, fold it into a loop, and then use one of these clamps to hold it all shut, and I'll use like a crimping tool to crimp that closed, and that'll keep the loop real tight and secure and snug so it'll never come loose. This is probably overkill. Like I said, it's 1/16 of an inch thick. It's capable of supporting up to 100 pounds, and I mean, this thing, even with all the squirrels in the world and all the birds in the world, isn't going to get much more than a pound or two. So this is way overkill, but it'll do the job. All right, I made a little bit of a miscalculation here, but I still think it'll be all right. Turns out that while this is a 1/16 inch wire rope, and this is a 1/16 inch wire rope clip, the fact that this has got the little rubber insulation on the outside of it increases the diameter, and it won't fit within the gap in the clip. So it's not the right thing. It's not going to work. But I have another idea. See, part of the thing here is to get the 100-pound strength that this wire is capable of doing, you need to use something like this. But since we're only going to be holding about 1 pound weight on the thing, I've decided I'm just going to use shrink wrap to do that. So I'm going to create the loop and secure it down with shrink wrap, and I think that will do just fine for me. I'll let you know what that looks like in a minute. Alright, so that's how I've created the first loop. Like I said, since I'm not going to be supporting a whole bunch of weight, it shouldn't be a problem. And the fact that I kind of bent the wire here, that means that gravity will kind of make it hold in this place. And the fact that this is secured with the shrink wrap on this end should ensure that this does not slip out of place. Now the next thing I got to do is take the wire that I just created and the cage outside, kind of hang it outside the window and adjust the length of this wire so that the cage is hanging at the right height so that it provides the best view for the kitties. Alright, I've basically figured out what the length I want it to be, and I basically just created another fold in the wire where I want the hook to be. So now I just got to shrink wrap that together once again, go install everything outside, put the bird feed in, and we will be ready to bring Cat TV on the air. And the wire is ready to go, so let's go out and install this bad boy here. So we got everything installed. As you can see, the cat bed is right inside there, and the cats, the further they kind of get back from the window, the less light there is, so there's less likely there is they'll be seen. But you can see that's like the perfect height for them to sit there and watch that. And like I said, I've got no squirrel baffles or anything up here, so it's possible they could shimmy down the wire or just make a flying leap from this little outcrop here over to the cage. And like I said, this is all about entertaining the cats, and the cats will be as entertained by moving squirrels as they will by birds. So hopefully this is going to entertain the cats a lot. Cat TV is now officially on the air, and I'll let you know in future episodes how much they enjoy this. So I think that's all that I got for today. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.